retention. And my favourite quote, which is talk sense and make it happen. Plain English, common sense, talk sense and make it happen. You'll often find me, if I'm ever in a meeting with you, I'll roll that one out quite a lot, because it is basically about talking sense, and the most difficult bit, making it happen, or the testy bit for you guys. This is a fantastic tool for getting you to think about the different areas within your organisation that are affected by retention. There's usually a section here which is called recruitment. So it's a slice of cheese that stops there. Offer and accept. And that stands for attracting somebody's attention, getting them really interested in your organisation, creating a real desire in them that they're going to want to come and work for you, and then getting them to act. And they're the 4 principles of marketing. And if you fall down on one of those principles, you can lose the person that you're trying to attract. So you've got a fantastic advert. It looks brilliant. You've got a brilliant image on there of somebody's big toe stuck in a pipe or something like that. So people look at it. You've got their attention. The copy in that advert really interests them, makes Age UK sound like the best place that they want to go. Fantastic. I love the sound of that job. So you've got them interested. You create a desire because you offer this, you offer that, you offer the other. They desire your organisation more than the other one, and you get them to act on that advert there and then. So you give them all of the opportunities to get in touch with you that you can. So they can text, which is very important these days. They can email, they can apply on Facebook, they can apply online, or they can pop in. Some people don't mind if people pop in. So you give them all the opportunities to act there and then when they see the advert. Because if they don't, it'll get missed. It'll stop on the coffee table and they'll think, bloody hell, I should have applied for that job. So that's just with a job advert. But the AIDA principle in marketing is for everything that you do. So it's for a poster, it's for an event, it's for everything that you do. If you have an event and you don't interest them, they're just going to walk out after about 5 minutes. So application stage, interviews, experience, offer and accept, checks are often called recruitment stages, but they're not, they're retention stages. Because if we follow the same principle that I've been talking about, even with your image and reputation, which you can't see because it's here at the start, you can lose people at all of those stages of recruitment if you don't slicken up on all of those stages and look and see, do we have a lot of dropout? Do we have a lot of people not responding to application forms? Query it. Have your little focus group that we talked about earlier and go through all these principles. But talk sense, warts and all, get it all out in the open. Don't keep anything back because you're worried about somebody else on the table, whatever you say. Really scrutinise and audit those different sections in the process. And then when we come to here, that's when we talk about retention. You've got your induction. Some people don't turn up for the induction, but most people enjoy that section. Most people that I talk to enjoy that bit about their employment, the start of the employment. And then you come into shadow experience, week 1, week 2, week 3. I've split this up into the early stages where that's the most dangerous point for retention, because you might not lose them at week 1 and week 2, but they might decide to leave you at week 1, week 2. They might even decide to leave you here when they're shadowing. So they might not leave you until there, but they might make the decision here. So the retention wheel is a fantastic auditing tool for you guys to be able to open up the questions about where are we losing people? Where are we losing people? What's our image and reputation like in the local community? Are we losing people before they even decide to do anything with the advert because they've heard about you, or somebody's granny's mentioned you, or you've never heard about them but you've heard about that other organisation because they're always on the television or they're always in the newspaper? So that's the tool that I use, and if I ever come to see anybody in this room, I'll wheel that one out again. And that is a brilliant tool for you to wheel out at management meetings and recruitment and retention chats with your staff. And that again will be coming out to all of you in the packs that we put online. I use this line of people, and I use this, and it's a little bit glib, this quote, but sometimes when I talk to employees about values and social care and how they might bring them into their recruitment process, the response is that it's too time-consuming or expensive, or that they don't see the immediate benefit. I'm always tempted to point them in the direction of Castlebeck at this stage and suggest that if they think recruiting the right people is expensive, they should try recruiting the wrong ones. And that's glib, but it's true, very, very true. And when we were talking about recruiting for values, a lot of people I ask people to draw their ideal person that they want to come and work for them, and they'll put round them the terminology that they want that person to be. And that's an excellent tool. But the next slide, we've got the Cavendish report, and this recruiting for values has to be part of a wider workforce strategy, including training and developing people so that they feel valued by your organisation. And what Catherine was saying earlier about the laurels, to me, listening to it is about value. The way that she invests in training, the way that she creates the right team and for the culture of her organisation, the way that she has introduced apprenticeships. She values her team. The kinds of things that I know that they do there just ooze value in their team. She wants to keep that right team. So this is interesting reading, and I'll put the link to it. It's the Independent Review of Healthcare Assistants and Social Care Assistants. So it's feedback from the people on the shop floor, basically. What makes a great care worker? McIntyre, National Learning Difficulties Organisation, do profiling for their recruitment and retention. They profile for retention. They profile for reducing sickness absence. They profile for fewer disciplinaries, and they profile for performance. Not a very difficult process to go through, although they have used psychometric experts, but you can do it using the toolkit that we talked about earlier, which will be at the back of this. So what are the traits and behaviours of the people who are consistently excellent, who work for you? So if you look yourselves and your focus groups at those traits, you'll be able to come up with values, traits, behaviours to give a distinct profile of the kind of person that you want to employ, and could employ that in the job centre criteria that you're doing your search for that we were talking about there. Yeah, McIntyre, and there's a home care organisation that's name's just left me at the moment, 25% increase in retention when they did this kind of profiling. Retention is the magnifying glass that brings out our true colours, and whenever I talk to people I ask about their retention, not their recruitment, I ask about their retention, because retention figures for me give me a little bit of insight into some of the deeper things that are going on within the organisation. And if somebody has a high retention rate, it usually means that we've got the values, we've got the good training, we've got a good package, we've got excellent teams who empathise with their work colleagues. We haven't got that we call them mood hoovers, if you like, from some training that we did before within the teams that hoover up bad moods and like people around them with bad moods. So you tend to find retention is a magnifying glass. Now we've done very quick calculations before in the R&R newsletter on how to quickly work out your retention rate, so we can run them again in the next newsletter following this for people to do a fag packet calculation. If you're not wanting to do it Excel spreadsheet final thing, you just want a fag packet calculation, I can tell you how to do that in the next newsletter. National Skills Academy for Social Care, value-based toolkit for employers. Bloody awful website address, but that's the toolkit that I was talking about in the recruitment presentation, and it's a real simple, plain English, easy to use kind of profiling tool if people want to try that the next time they have a recruitment campaign. Recruiting for values is part of a wider recruitment and retention strategy, including structured and timely training and developing people so that they feel valued. Recruiting for values isn't just something that you'd slip into your recruitment programme. It's part of the training and the development and the value in your staff. And if you add it as a tool for your retention with those other three, then it's more effective. If you just have that as we'll profile our candidates and see if she's right, and then the others fall by the wayside, it's not going to affect your retention rates at all. So it has to be a combined strategy. We've got a very, when I was talking before about this, how I would do my PR and my advertising programme, fag packet kind of thing round the table, this is a really good, we call them tip sheet, on a new starter retention plan. This might not work for your organisation, but it's something that you can look at in your focus groups and your meetings and say, right, week 1, they say we could do this. Week 2, we could do that. Week 3, well, that's not going to work here. What about if we do this? What about if we do that? And it's very, very simple. And when we had the wheel, I don't know whether you remember, but I always bring back a story of somebody that I followed when they joined an organisation that I'd done a lot of work with. And the person joined, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've recommended this place, they'll do well there, da-da-da-da-da. And the first day of their shadow, after the induction, which they loved, nobody turned up. Rang the office, nobody answered the phone. She didn't know what to do. There was a person waiting for her. So she knocked on the door and went in. It was a double up. She ended up giving care on her own because she didn't know what to do. She didn't get in touch with the office. I think that day she might have decided that she wasn't going to stop at that organisation, but she would see how it went. In that first week, there was about 3 things that made her decide she wasn't going to stop with that organisation. And then she finished working with them after 3 months, I think it was, and started her own organisation and is doing really well without personal care, but it's a domestic sort of cleaning and care company. But it's all well and good having this type of strategy, but it's how you roll it out, how you affect change, how you actually put it into practice. So make things achievable. My little plan. The other one, the recruiting one, we had all those blocks. I think we had 9 blocks, and they were just suggestions of areas that you could look at when you're doing a recruitment plan yourself. For retention, there's 4 areas that I think you can easily look at and just split it off so it looks achievable. And your baseline, they're your figures. So you've got your retention and you've got your turnover rates. So you can work it out. NMDS figures can help you with that if you're keeping on top of the NMDS figures. Or most people actually keep a spreadsheet of their incomers and their outgoing people. So you want a retention, turnover rate for your organisation. And sickness levels as well are very indicative. So sickness levels are a little bit like a magnifying glass as well. So know your sickness levels and know your retention rates. Next thing is your diagnostics. A lot of you will already do exit questionnaires. A lot of you will already do staff surveys. A lot of you will probably do consultation meetings with your staff. But your diagnostic section, you don't need to do all of them, but a staff exit questionnaire should be carried out with everybody that exits if they can. So bring in that, make sure that everybody that leaves has an exit questionnaire and capture that data. Now the interventions, that's your strategy, which was on the previous slide, and it was what you were going to do in week 1, week 2, week 3, month 1, month 2, month 3. That was your strategy. Your agreed actions within those month 1, week 1, what you're going to do within those, achievable again. So agree your strategy, agree the actions and who's going to do them, and then launch it within your organisation. Make people aware that you're doing this. Celebrate the fact that you're really taking this on board and that this is the new way of working. And then evaluate it. Evaluate it after about 6 months. You've got the figures from the baseline. measure it with your figures from the 6 monthly figures, and then send out your second staff attitude survey, asking people what the improvements are like within the 6 months. And again, if you haven't got time to do all this, that's the problem to solve. Is it a graduate? Is it a volunteer? Is it an old member of staff who's retired, not old in person, but an old, like they were working for you? Solve the problem of manpower if it is a true problem internally that you haven't got time to do this, because that kind of way of working is the only way that you're going to influence retention rates. And it's very hands-on, but you've got to have that kind of cuddly, is the word that I used to use and get laughed at for using. You've got to have that sort of cuddly approach with your new recruits. I asked managers how they could influence retention, and a lot of them just looked at me and it was like, pfft. And I mentioned that this pfft that I always hear is actually, it's a symbol, well, it's a sign when tigers are being very aggressive, they make that noise. So if you go up to a tiger and you go, pfft, it'll probably bite your head off. So that noise, just to sort of lighten it up when I hear it, because it annoys me a little bit because of the joke, is because the manager can't see all of the areas that they can influence. There is just more than that a manager can influence on retention. It just goes on and on and on. And giving people clear, concise information, and people say, well, they wouldn't come and work for us if they had the warts and all about the job. But do you want to give them clear English, plain English, concise information about the job, and get rid of some of the people who haven't got the tenacity and the resilience for the hard job that you're applying for, to stop the 3 monthly exit? Or do you want people to come and work for you for 3 months? Change the way that you market to get the people with the tenacity and the profile, and then give them the information so that you're not bringing in people that are going to leave quite quickly. And I like this quote: someone who knew to someone who do. There's an awful lot of people who are people who know about things, but there's not many people who do both, who do the new and who do the do. And if you can change the culture, or you can change the way that you work, to focus more on the do, and not the new, because there's loads of ways to help you with the new bit, but CSAC rely on you to do the do bit.